Hey fresties, welcome back to Wattpad Wednesdays. Today we are going to be talking all about how to grow your account on Wattpad, so if you're interested, stay tuned. As a lot of you may know, I already made a Wattpad Wednesday video that was all about how to get more reads on your stories, and there I talked about engagement, which is a hugely important part of growing your stories and your account on Wattpad. But in that video, I talked mainly about engaging on other people's stories. I did not touch so much on engaging on your own stories, which is equally, if not more, important. So my first tip for when it comes to growing on Wattpad is to engage on your stories and be active on your stories, communicating with your audience, no matter how big or how small that audience may be. Now, I know you might be busy, or you might be the way that a lot of authors are, where you're a little shy or introverted and you don't necessarily have the time or the desire to delve into a lengthy conversation with somebody, but things as simple as a thank you can really go a long way in showing your audience that you care about them and you appreciate that they're there. So if you get a comment on your story, reply to it, say thank you, maybe give a little bit of a specific reply to the feedback or sentiment that they shared with you, and just talk to them. These cicadas are driving me insane. If you engage with your audience and build a relationship with them, they are way more likely to stick around, not only on the story that they're already reading, but for your future stories as well, or other stories that you might already have posted. Plus, it encourages them to leave more comments, which helps with the algorithm, as far as I can tell. Again, Wattpad algorithm is a mystery, but numbers help. That's the basics. So more comments help, and if you are replying to people, that's an incentive for them to leave more comments, start a conversation with you. So even if you're shy, get over that fear of replying to people and tell them thank you, because I'm sure you are thankful. They'll appreciate it, and it will make them more likely to stick around. My second tip might be a little controversial, might not be what some of you many genre having people are gonna want to hear, but my tip is to find your niche. Basically, what I mean by this is sticking with one genre in particular. Now, I'm not saying that you have to do this, I'm just saying that it is a great way to build an audience on Wattpad, and I know that firsthand from sticking with the young adult genre for the past 4 years now. 18, 19, 20. Yeah, that's 4 years. If you post a science fiction story that does really well, but then somebody finishes reading it and clicks on your account and sees that the only other stories that you have posted are one contemporary romance one contemporary romance and one high school teen fiction story, then they are probably not going to check out these other stories because they don't necessarily have an interest in either of those genres. But if they finish your science fiction story and they go on your account and they see that you've posted 2 other science fiction stories, chances are they're gonna read them because they already read your other one, they know they like it, they know they like your writing. You have probably just gained a loyal reader, whereas if you're scattered amongst a bunch of genres, you're probably gonna have a pretty scattered reader base that is not necessarily going to follow you throughout your journey and is just gonna check out that one story and then say bye-bye. It's really a personal choice if you want to try to build up an audience by sticking with one genre, or if you have your heart set on writing multiple genres and you want to go, all over the place and just write what you really want to write. On a personal note, I have written teen fiction on Wattpad for the past 4 years, and I've recently been looking to branch out into contemporary romance, and honestly, I will say it is a little frightening because I have an audience that knows me for teen fiction and that really likes my teen fiction works. I have no idea if that's going to translate to my romance works. None at all. I feel like I'll be lucky if I have even half of my readers check out my romance books. So if you are planning to try to write multiple genres in the future, I would say just do it from the get-go, because even if you build up that audience and you do it later, it's still gonna be a chance of losing people, so you may as well just do it to begin with. But if you have one genre that you are really, really into and set on, this could be an option for you. My third tip is a very easy one, and that is to give your profile a look. An aesthetic, if you will. By this, I basically mean making sure that everything looks good together, looks harmonious, maybe has certain elements that all are tied together. This is everything from your profile picture to your profile banner to your description to your book covers. There are a lot of different ways that you can do this. You could go for a more professional and personable style, which is basically what I've gone for on my account. You know, a profile picture of your face or a drawing of you. Your profile banner can be very sleek and professional looking. Your bio can just give a little insight to yourself and talk about your books and your writing, maybe have links to your other social medias, that kind of a thing. Or you could go for a totally different approach and maybe have a very funny profile picture, you know, Peppa Pig or something like this guy. You could have a very humorous bio, or maybe even one that is just super short and sweet, just like a quirky one-liner. I personally think that this type of account is most beneficial for people who are really active and really funny in the comments of other people's stories, because people are going to see that very clickable profile picture and they're going to go to your account, and if they find your bio funny, your announcements funny, they are probably going to click follow. So if you are an active commenter, that is a great profile option for you to consider. And lastly, the type of profile that makes up a very good portion of Wattpad profiles would be a fandom themed type profile. You can have a profile picture of whatever fandom that you're in. Lightning McQueen, I wouldn't necessarily, that would fall more under the meme side. You know, I know there's a lot of K-pop fans on Wattpad. One Direction was huge on Wattpad. Rest in peace. Any fandom that exists online, you can find it on Wattpad. And if you are going to be writing about that fandom, even better. Any type of account that you want to have, you can have it no matter what you're writing. But you know, certain things do better with writing that is synonymous with it. I don't know what this little movement is, but you get it. My fourth tip, possibly the most important tip of them all, is to stay active and consistent. Really, if you want to grow an audience on Wattpad, my best advice is to consider keeping a schedule for your book updates. I know it's tough, but seriously, keeping a schedule will draw in readers because they'll know that you are consistently uploading and that they can believe that you're not just gonna poof and disappear off into the night like so many other writers have. And if you want to go the extra mile and really show readers that you care about them and want them to be engaged with you, then you can even consider keeping a schedule for your community posts. You could say that you're going to post something on your conversations board once a week or once a month, you know, just keeping it consistent so that you're having that engagement with the people who choose to follow you. And I will say that, at least for me, I've noticed that when I keep a schedule for uploading my books, people are way more likely to comment. As opposed to when I'm updating sporadically, people comment way more often when they know that they are going to get an update again in 2 days or a week or whatever amount of time it is. They want to communicate that they're excited for the next update. I think that a lot of that is because they know that there is going to be a next update and that I'm not just going to abandon the story and leave them hanging. My next tip sort of ties into something that I said in the previous video about gaining more readers. Like I said before, completed stories draw in more readers because the readers know there's no chance of abandonment. They have a completed story that they can read from start to finish. They can binge it all in one day if they want to, and that is going to draw in way more readers than even a story that is consistently uploading, or way more than one that is just uploading, you know, once a month and then they leave for 2 months and then they come back. And then having a completed story in your arsenal is like the best weapon on Wattpad. That sounds threatening, but you get what I mean. You will see a huge spike in readers after your first completed story. So even though this video is all about growth, my tip is to focus on writing instead of focusing on growth. If you build it, they will come. If you write, you will see readers, especially once you finish that first story. And then we get into the territory of finishing multiple stories, which is one of the best things that you can do when it comes to growing your account on Wattpad. The more stories that you have on your account, the more chances that you have to be found by new readers. And then when a new reader finds you and they finish this story that they found of yours, guess what? They have 4 or 5 more stories to go read of yours that they're probably going to check out, especially if they're in the same genre like I mentioned earlier. So now you're not only getting reads on one story from this person, but you're getting reads on all your stories from this person. If they're finishing not only one story from you, but multiple stories from you, chances are they're going to click that follow button and they're going to stick around to see what else you have coming. Lastly, we already talked about staying consistent, but another thing that I know you don't want to hear is staying patient. Patience is like the most important thing when it comes to growing on Wattpad, because for most of us, it is not going to happen overnight. It's not even going to happen in a month, and a lot of times it's not even going to happen in a year. Growth on Wattpad is a slow slope upwards. I'm guessing that you're on Wattpad to have fun, to share your writing, so don't focus too much on the numbers and turn it into something that isn't fun and that's just about hitting certain milestones, because that takes all the fun out of it. Just enjoy yourself and let the growth come naturally. Do what you can to help speed it up and help get yourself to where you want to be, but focus more on your writing than anything else, and focus on the community that you have with your readers instead of trying to get more and more and more people into that community. If you have a nice community, how many times can I say that in a row? If you have a nice group of people that like your stories and you're communicating with them and talking to them and just having a good time, people are gonna see that, they're gonna leave their own comments and form a bond with you and everybody else that is reading your stories. Obviously, we all want new readers, but you gotta appreciate the ones that you already have as well. And before I go, you know I have to talk about it, you know I have to say what not to do. Don't self-advertise. I seem to have confused some people in the previous video I made about growing on Wattpad when I talked about how abhorrent self-advertising is, and I just wanted to clarify, if you are advertising for your story on your own stories or your own conversation board, or if somebody asks for book recommendations and you're like, hey, well, you could check out mine, that is not what I'm talking about. That is cool. You're not bothering anybody. You're not imposing on anybody. But the issue comes when you just go onto somebody's message board randomly or slide into their messages without so much as a hello and say, hey, you know, check out my story. Or sometimes I've gotten messages where they don't even say hey. They just send me the link to their story. I'm like, what do you want me to do with this? You're not even gonna ask me to read it, you're just here. It's like just walking by somebody on the street and handing them your manuscript and not saying anything. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and frankly, it just comes off as a little rude. In that same respect, especially if somebody says specifically in their bio that they do not take reading requests, it makes it so obvious that you didn't even take the time to read their bio before posting your link in their message board or their messages. And you can see this firsthand on the video that I did for Wattpad Wednesday, where I talked about how annoying self-advertising is, and there are so many people in the comments of that video self-advertising their stories, saying, check out my story, anybody wanna, you know, read my story, all that stuff. I'm like, hey, did you watch the video? If you've ever wanted a lesson in irony, you know, there you go. But yeah, just to be totally clear, you know, if you are on TikTok or something and you make a TikTok video saying, hey, I have this story on Wattpad, blah 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 happens, if you're interested in this genre, please check it out, totally fine. That type of self-advertising, you keep going, that is great, do that. Just do not go soliciting on other people's things. Frankly, as far as I've seen, it doesn't even help you grow your account on Wattpad. And lastly, a tip that falls in line with the last Wattpad Wednesday that I made is to do read for reads, but do them the right way, which if you want to know the way that that is, check out my last video. So those are my top tips for how to grow your account on Wattpad. I hope they were helpful, and if they were, please leave a like and let me know in the comments what you want to see next on Wattpad Wednesdays. I'm open to any and all suggestions, so just tell me. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that I will see you in the next one. Don't know why I'm waving my head around like that, but goodbye.